Hello and welcome back. I'm going to continue reading The Poisoned Pen Pal, 1908, Book 1 of the series, The Kindleville Librarian. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited, and Book 2 is nearing completion, and Book 3 is started. So you can see my earlier video to get the history on how this came to be, but for now, I'm going to proceed with Chapter 2, which is in Sarah's voice. Returning from church the next day, we spent a few minutes dusting off our clothing and stomping feet as we entered the boarding house. Preacher Dan had provided a wonderful sermon about generosity of heart. On Sundays, Mrs. Beasley offered the largest meal of the week directly after church. Hastening upstairs to address the state of my hair and clothes, I could hear the splatter of chicken being placed in the hot oil, which would fill the cast iron skillet. Soon the house would swell with mouth-watering aromas. The call to lunch would come within the hour. Afterward, with our bellies full, Lydia and I retired to the parlor, along with our fellow boarders. We sat together on the flowery cushioned davenport, as was our usual fashion. Overturned logs sizzled, and Mr. Humphreys added another to the burning pyramid in the open hearth. The afternoon held the promise of our day of relaxation. We need more light in here. It's such a dreary day. Our landlady, Mrs. Beasley, lit the oil lamps to provide ambience to the otherwise gloom of the February day before finding her spot on the wing-back chair she favored. We all felt the pull of our eyelids as we digested the enormous meal. This was where one day of leisure, preceding the return to a busy week ahead. Sundays were always a special treat, and today's meal had not been a disappointment. I say, after a brief nap, it might inspire me to enjoy a game of cribbage, Mr. Evans suggested. I don't think I could sleep, but I might shut my eyes for a moment or two. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll rise to the occasion, Mr. Humphreys responded. Turning out their booming speech, which quickly turned to snoring, I turned my focus to Lydia and had an image of her exploding in the newspaper office. I wanted to deter her actions if I could. However, I feared my warnings at lunch the day prior hadn't hindered her plans. She might have changed her mind on thoughts of a confrontation, but it was doubtful. Little could stop her when she got a plan going. It has been a most peaceful Sunday here at Mrs. Beasley's, but I will be glad to be at work tomorrow. I expect the Ladies' Aid Society will bring more books in for our shelves. Do you expect tomorrow to be a busy day? I asked. If you want to know if I'm going to confront Mr. Broadley once again, I am. If there were another way, I'd try. But him changing his mind is my only hope. I am going to ask him one more time about reporting on the auto drivers. They will be here soon. This will be genuine news and an excellent opportunity for Mr. Bradley to see I can do the job as well as any man, Lydia responded quietly. So, you will have a better job and perhaps make a bit more money. Do you really need more? I find myself quite content with our lives here in Kendallville, other than missing Elizabeth. I was glad Lydia shared my secret. She was the only person alive, other than Mamma, who knew the truth of my daughter's existence. With increased wages, perhaps we could share our incomes and afford to move into a house. Elizabeth could come live with us. Her voice was gentle. They will not pay you as they will a man, and who would care for Elizabeth while we are both at work? We could work that out. Perhaps if we got a house large enough, your folks would move to Kendallville with us to keep her in their care. As long as you are a woman, they will pay you a lady's wages, I whispered, laying my hand on hers to show I appreciated her concern. But facts were facts, and she needed to face them. Life was challenging for women, especially with our rights so distant from those afforded to men. I considered her idea of the three of us in a home without a husband idyllic, but impossible. As for my folks coming to Kendallville, that would never happen. Ma told me years ago, Pa planned to die and be buried right there on the farm. I worried about them so far away, getting older, with none of my siblings nearby to help. Ma was taking care of Elizabeth, and that was a godsend, but I knew soon I would need to be responsible for her. Besides that, I also worried about Lydia, aspiring towards things which could not come to pass. Even though I dreaded the idea, we needed to find husbands. I couldn't see another way. Thinking of my daughter always brought the yearning as I wrapped my arms around myself, wishing I was still holding the small girl. Lydia lowered her gaze as she raised her shoulders and nodded in agreement. Lydia's quick tongue and smart retorts always caused problems, and if she persisted, it could cause her to be without a job rather than provide the opportunity she desired. I don't have the answers either. Perhaps we should surrender to life as it is. I have worked on a list of suitors who I would entertain consideration of if they were to express interest, I told her. Based on the look that Lydia gave me, she had no interest in that discussion. She understood my feeble attempts to find a suitable husband, but she didn't put forth any more effort than I did. My appearance was plain, but I still had plenty of would-be suitors buzzing around the library. Unfortunately, the mayor was the most unpleasant and the most determined. Avoiding him was often the greater part of my job. I considered Lydia more attractive to the eye than my appearance, yet the men in town mostly left Lydia alone. She lacked the feminine restraint seemed desirable by men. I couldn't understand how she imagined the newspaper would eventually pay her a man's wages. It wasn't done. I held little stock in the idea, although it comforted me to know I wasn't alone in my worries about Elizabeth. Lydia was much braver than I and understood the gravity of the situation. I wished for a simple solution, although there didn't appear to be one. I hadn't yet been able to resign myself to living with a man and possibly being required to endure more births. The mere thought of it made me shift a little closer to Lydia for her warmth and comfort. I had survived the last because of Lydia's gentle care. I didn't want to go through that again or imagine a life without Lydia in it.